today I was thinking maybe maybe you can spend some time just in your own words introducing the subject of Gita in whichever way you feel like.
Okay.
And if people have any questions in the topic or just about the whole session itself, they can maybe share that. So anybody has questions, we'll take towards the end, but you can type it in the messages, please. So over to you.
Okay. So couple of things, in the beginning, I obviously everything I've learned it from the great teachers and the gurus, Sri Aurobindo, the mother, and then of course Sri Krishna himself was Jagat Guru, one of the greatest philosophers, because those who love philosophy will like literature. It's a great work of literature, poetry. Those who love that, those who love the chand, those who love the matras, we can talk about those things. And so, it's even after what probably 4,000 years, it is still retains its freshness and it's still relevant. So in our lives, probably even more relevant, which is what makes a classic. A classic, Pankajji, we have talked about in the literary book, is one that always retains its freshness. A literary classic.
Wow.
So it is fresh. Even when I read it now, I've read Sri Aurobindo's essays on the Gita for probably now 37, 38 years. And every time I read, I learn something new. The intent is to introduce ourselves to the real teachers. I'm just here as probably an introducer, someone who loves our great teachers and has spent a lot of time and introduce, and then we all hopefully can connect with them directly, which is always the goal. And our great gurus will then guide us and teach us, and whatever unveiling, evolution happens through us, flowering happens. So the unique things about the Gita to me, and Parthadada, I'll quote him, it is one of the most pivotal shastras in our culture. Why so? Before the Gita, of course, were the Shrutis, the Veda and Upanishads, which are also part of the Veda. So the Veda has 4 parts. If you look at them, in the Rig Veda, the hymns proper, then you come to the Aranyaka, then you come to the Brahmanas, and then finally the Upanishad. The Upanishad has its great wisdom it gives you the wisdom in compact, intuitive language. If you go to it, it gives you the wisdom. Before that, if you go in the Veda, it's symbolic. The Veda gives you Agni. You have to deeply discover what that Agni symbol is, or Indra, or Surya, or Adri, or Saraswati. These are different symbols, and they lived in that world. Their language was different compared to our intellectual language. And they lived those symbols, and that was reality. And through those symbols, they went to something beyond symbols. From the symbols, they went to something that is what is symbolized. Now, the Upanishads starts moving away from that symbolic language and comes to a language that is giving you the wisdom in a deeper, intuitive sutra or condensation. This is like a formula, like Einstein. This is the formula. Ayam Atma Brahman. Just take this formula. You just dwell on it. So then from Upanishad, you come to the Gita, which to me, I always consider it as Shruti. Some people argue with me. No, it's not Shruti. It is really Smriti. Okay, I'll take it. But to me, it's Narayan Vaka, and a lot of people have called Gita the 13th Upanishad or Gita-Upanishad. So to me, it is as important. But the beautiful part of Sri Krishna in the Gita is a couple of things that I really, from my literary bent, I love, is he's very practical. All that great wisdom, the symbolic language, all the different complexities of the Veda, he brings it in 700 shlokas and kind of condenses that wisdom for us. And the Upanishadic wisdom is coming through. The Vedanta is there. So definitely beautiful Vedanta. But the genius of Sri Krishna is not only is it Vedanta, because his consciousness was so vast, all these other paths, the pantha, vibhinna pantha, all these various panthas came through in his own being, and it seems to us that he has combined them, he's integrated them. Just like with Sri Aurobindo, it seems like he has integrated them. But no, these are naturally, organically together in him. So what do we find? We find the Veda. He talks about the Veda, and especially the second, third, and fourth chapter. Fourth chapter, if you want to see what he really means, fourth chapter, the 24th shlok kind of just gives you his summary, which is the original understanding of the Veda. One shloka, he gives you everything. And Veda is there, Vedanta is there. Then, of course, Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga, for the first time in our tradition, someone talks about it, at least as far as we know, and takes it as the highest yoga, as important as Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So if we start from the first mandala or sukta of first sukta, and in the first mandala of Rig Veda, we see the beginning of bhakti. We see the beginning of jnana. But here there's a flowering of the bhakti. Vaishnava bhakti comes in its fullness, but there is also jnana and there is karma. So he's brought these three paths together, and consistently he keeps them together. And another very beautiful thing he brings together is Sankhya and Yoga. And Sri Aurobindo talks about it in his beautiful essays on the Gita, which I think are the greatest treatise, exegesis, commentary, tika, bhashya on Gita. In English and whatever I have read, I've never read someone, and that's as a spiritual discipline. In practical, in real living, to me, that is always, of course, I'm biased because he's my guru, but I still think as work of literature, but also because he's able to keep all these together, and we will see that. So what does Sri Krishna do? Sankhya and Yoga, which are supposed to be different, and we can talk about what the differences are. Sankhya is more analytical, Sankhya, which means to enumerate every little tattva, every little factor or principle of existence. It's enumerated, Sankhya. Yoga, on the other hand, is, at least in Sri Krishna's time, at least the way he describes, it is not so much analytical, it is not so much mind, it is bringing things together. Yoga, yuj, bringing things together. And so Sri Krishna does an integration of different philosophies which to people are totally opposite, which Sankhya and Yoga, totally opposite. How do they come together? And Arjun gets confused completely. Karma and Jnana. You say Jnana is important, then you say go and do your karma, you're confusing me. He complains to Sri Krishna. But Sri Krishna is able to bring them together in a tremendous work of genius and hold it together till the end and give us the final vision where they're all together. So yes, you can follow one path. You can follow Jnana, you can follow Karma, you can follow Bhakti. And we have had in India, in our Indic civilization, the genius of our civilization, the beauty of our civilization is you can follow Yatha Mat Tatha Pat, as Sri Ramakrishna says. Whatever you're feeling, you follow that, and that's perfect, that's okay. But then there is the other way of people or yogis or jnanis or gurus whose consciousness is so vast that all these become a part of them. They do not reject any aspect of yoga, of reaching the divine. So Sri Ramakrishna was himself like that. Sri Ramakrishna himself went through possibly every path that Sri Krishna talks about. He went through bhakti, through yoga, through jnana, through karma, although karma was not intense external, but he was still working and teaching his disciples. Tantra, Vedanta, he even experienced the truth of Christianity and Islam. So for bigger beings with a bigger consciousness, or perhaps more supple consciousness, something wider, and something more integrated is needed. And Sri Krishna gives us that in a very practical way. And so for us who want a complete development of our existence, who are working, we are working, but we want to have bhakti, we love, and we want to have jnana also. And Sri Krishna beautifully shows that if you have more jnana, bhakti will be spontaneously coming to you. They're not, you can't separate them. And as bhakti comes, it will reflect itself in your karma. Your karma, the nature, the quality of your karma will start changing. So it is the triune path. The separation is artificial and in our head. Or it is a separation that is artificial. So I will sit in a cave and only do dhyana and only have jnana yoga. But Sri Krishna asks, at what point have you stopped working? You will never stop working. You're always in karma, no matter what you do. You sit up, unless you totally don't move and you hold your breath and nothing moves. But even then, karma is happening through you, whether you know it or not, because that is the nature of prakriti, the very nature of your being. Things are constantly changing. And he says, even Sri Krishna himself, I am doing karma. So what is your problem? So that is the beauty to me of the book, but he makes it very practical. So all this great theory, we hear about it, fine, but what does it change in my life? I'm still the same. I'm still with the same problems, my own divisions and complexities, and I'm still the petty person that I always was. So how can you change? And that's what Sri Krishna is doing. And another very intense bit of this is the situation that it is delivered, it is revealed in. The situation is, you cannot have a more violent, disturbing situation. And no other scripture has such a circumstance where life or death, life not just of one person, but life of a whole civilization, life of an entire Sanskriti is at stake. And normally, even we have been so messed up, we've been so brainwashed, unfortunately, with modern thought, that our response is, okay, chodo, ahimsa, let's not do anything, let's let them be, and it's okay, why should I be attached to things? But Sri Krishna, being Sri Krishna, says, no, you have to fight. And that is the unique part of this great scripture, is this is the first time a scripture is taking you right in the midst of a battle and doesn't allow you to escape. Sri Krishna holds Arjuna and you're going to do it. And the greatness of Arjuna is he surrenders himself completely to Sri Krishna. If it were someone like me, you would be arguing with Sri Krishna all the time. But he says, you are the teacher, you tell me what needs to be done. Second chapter, finally he just gives up, and then Sri Krishna starts with the 11th shloka. And that's really second chapter, 11th shloka, the real spiritual knowledge comes. Before that, there is the build-up. But you can take the Gita in many ways. You can take it as an actual description of a physical battle, which is where people get confused. How could he deliver this and people are waiting? What are they going to do? Stop and just let you talk to each other? So we must understand that the Gita happens in various planes, and we must also understand the meaning of a Dharmayuddha. Dharmayuddha was not a physical battle. If we think that is it, that's the most surface of the iceberg. That is just the manifestation where we are, okay, you're fighting. But deeper things have been done in an occult plane, in a spiritual plane, as multiple layers of being. And it's not like Arjuna did not know this. Some hint was there. They were friends, they were colleagues, they were together, totally dedicated to each other. Arjuna is himself a great warrior. And it's beautiful to see that Arjuna is selected, not any of his brothers, why not Bhishma, who was so great? Why not Yudhishthira, who was Dharmaraj himself? Dharmaraj himself doesn't get Gita. Why? A couple of qualities in Arjuna that are pure. Arjuna means the straight one. Arjava, Arja is straight. So Arjuna is straight. He is totally concentrated. This is the only man in the whole 106 among cousins, 100 Kauravas, 5 Pandavas, who can concentrate so intensely that he only sees the point of his concentration. If you remember the old story where I think they all have to shoot the arrow through the eye of a fish, and Drona keeps calling them, and okay, what do you see? And they see everything. Do you see me? Yes, I see you. Do you see all your cousins? Yes, I see. Do you see the tree? Yes, I see. Okay, next. Until Arjun comes, and what do you see? I see that eye. Do you see anything else? No. Do you see me? No. Do you even see your cousins? No, I don't. That concentration is capable of holding the wisdom of Sri Krishna. It is not that he already knows. In fact, he says, I don't know. He is a Kshatriya. He knows how to fight. He knows how to follow the dharma. And throughout the book, he's not asking for philosophy. He's not saying, Sri Krishna, give me the greatest philosophy in the world. He does not care, give two hoots about philosophy. He says, give me a dharma. Give me something I can live by. Either you tell me to go and I'll go, or you tell me to fight and I'll fight. Give me a dharma. Don't explain, don't complicate things for me. And he never says, give me what is the greatest metaphysics of it. He doesn't care. He's a practical man, like most of us. He lives in this world. And so that's the metaphorical aspect, that the Gita is happening in our hearts. The metaphor is that we are always in the midst. We are the Kshetra. We think we are a person, we are an individual, but we are actually the Kshetra in which the light and the dark are battling it out. And we are also the Kshetragya, which Sri Krishna explains later. But we are the field in which it is happening, in our heart, in our mind, in our prana, in our body. Its battle is going on. And so it is for us to choose individually, each of us. What was that? T.E. Lawrence said, each man is a civil war. Beautiful statement. Each man is a civil war, which each of us is a dharmyuddha. So the moment we realize that Sri Krishna is right here, Arjuna is right here, we are the Arjuna and Sri Krishna duality, the Nara Narayana. And Nara Narayana is there from the beginning. In the Veda, you have Indra and Kutsa. And Indra and Kutsa are traveling together, man and divine. In our tradition, the beautiful part, man is not separated from the divine. It looks like externally the divine is outside. We say, oh my God, we're just human beings. No, the divine is always with us. The divine is our friend, our beloved, constantly helping us, does not leave us. Even when we get all troubled and leave the divine is with us. So Indra and Kuts are traveling. Just a few more minutes and then I'll give it to you, because otherwise I'll go on. Indra and Kuts are traveling. Beautiful story. They are in a rath. Now, rath itself is a very symbolic meaning in our tradition. But they're traveling in a rath. And as they travel to their destination, Indra's kingdom, guess what happens to Kutsa? And Kutsa name itself tells you. Kutsa. From Sanskrit, right? Well, what? How? But the name itself is telling you. And Kutsa is going with Indra to his kingdom. And by the time they reach the kingdom, he looks exactly like Indra. There is no difference. No one can tell them apart. There are two Indras traveling in the same Ratha. What a beautiful story. And so who's going to tell the difference? No one can, until Indra's wife Shachi comes and identifies who is Indra and who is Kutsa. And Shachi name itself means the truth, the one who stands by the truth. So if we understand the play of the words, the symbols, they are beautiful. They are in the Veda. Those who love the Veda, we're welcome to. We can send you my little contribution to whatever I learned from Sri Aurobindo and Swami Dayanand, my little 2 cents on it. But beautiful, and Upanishads. But then the Gita takes us in the 700 shlokas, just takes all that, like the sar, the nichod, the elixir, and this is the concentrate. Just do this. And if we can do just one shloka a day, I'd go back and just go over it and over it and over it until it's somewhere it starts ringing and registering. Oh my God. And it was very helpful to me in my personal life. It was extremely helpful in dealing, because I have never experienced close, family members' death until July. My father passed away, and Sri Krishna was very helpful. So without it, wouldn't have known. I would have lost bearings. But he gives you the path, the practical path. You can almost have a Gita yoga. Gives you the practical path. What needs to be done? How do you die? Because dying can be a glorious moment for us, for each of us, if we understand what it is. And Sri Krishna gives you that complete, almost walks you through. He gives you hints, and that's another thing he does. He constantly, because he has so much. In the second chapter, he gives you little seeds, constant little beautiful flames that you can hold on to, which will each grow, and with every chapter there's an unveiling. That idea will come back in a different form, maybe differently, but it's almost like you have dropped a layer from your own awareness and you have come to a new understanding. And then the next chapter, he peels off another layer of your understanding, until at the end you realize the understanding was always there. I have not learned anything new. The understanding has always been there. I am that understanding. And he takes you to that one by one. 18th shloka, suddenly you realize, oh my God. So if we study him just as logic, beautiful, what a brilliant mind. Just for his logic, he should be considered an avatar. And I joke like that constantly. If you have doubts about his avatarhood, fine. Just read his logic, read his philosophy, and you will say this is a genius beyond any that humanity has known. And if we can talk about philosophy, and one book that Pankajji was talking about, Sri Aurobindo and philosophy, and the darshana is so vast that all these little darshanas from the east, from the west, and I shouldn't say little, I don't want to judge them, but they are what they are. They are a darshan of one aspect. They all fit in because Vedanta is so vast. It takes the biggest frame of reference. Those who like physics, it takes the biggest frame of reference possible, limitless. If you say all is one, manifesting in a multiplicity, then where have you limited? And you are that. So individual, cosmic, transcendental, immanent, everything is, there's nothing excluded. If you go into philosophy, say Kant will focus on one thing. Even our Ramanujacharya will Vishisht Advaita, he'll focus on one aspect. Or Madhvacharya ji, one aspect. He'll say Dvait. We are two. The Jeev and Narayana are two. Forget it. That's it. Your job is to worship and just do bhakti, and that's it. But those who try to understand what real Vedanta is, they'll say, no, but there should be something more. And so then you come to Vishisht Advaita, where you are still that divine Narayana is you, but you still have a difference. You're not perfect. There is a separation. You will never become Narayana, although you can experience the Narayana, Vishisht Advaita. And then you come to the complete Advaita. Advaita is no two, no duality, no differentiation of Shankara, where even saying that there is no duality sounds dualistic. So Vedanta gives you such a wide frame that all these little philosophies come to in it. Yoga comes in it, Sankhya comes in it. But you just have to understand the essence of that darshana or that philosophy. So I know I've talked for 27 minutes or 25 minutes, and I will go on, and I think I should give everyone a break from my excitement about the subject, because it's such a beautiful subject. But Swamiji, you tell me what needs to be done. I'll zip it and I'll let you talk.
No, I think I guess we can also keep listening to you. So it's very beautiful. But if at this moment, people have questions which they are carrying or something which popped up in their head, they want to be clarified, maybe they can type it in the box or just raise their hand on the Zoom and we can just go through some of that.
So this confusion I clear right from the beginning, okay, just so that everybody knows. I'm just introducing. I'm an introducer. The real guru is Sri Aurobindo, Sri Krishna. Those are the gurus. So I'm a friend. I'm with you. What little I know, philosophy, literature, dhyana, I'm happy to share it. And I think I said it before. I keep saying it, but so that we don't get into that. And you don't have to agree with anything I say. That's okay too. You can say, I doubt what you say, and that too would be fine. Neti, neti would be fine too. Can we say Gita is an Upanishad? So this is where, when I wrote the book on the Veda, I called it a Shruti. Shruti is that which was heard. So the differentiation in our shastras, in our various spiritual literature, Shruti is the Rishi has reached an awareness where he doesn't create. People like me, we write, we think, and we write. The Rishi has reached that consciousness called Paramavyoma, the ultimate sky, the ultimate space, where they see. What do they see? I can't describe it for you because I couldn't tell you. But they see the vibrations. So Rishayo mantra drishtaraha. A rishi is one who sees the mantra or who hears that vibration. And we'll talk about the 4 levels of speech and hearing that are traditional and comes later in the Tantra also. But this is the Paravak, where he's the Rishi, he or she, Rishis we had male Rishis and female Rishis. So Rishi hears, and that's why it's called Shruti. Shruti nowadays is translated as revelation. Shruti actually means hearing. So Veda came, these great Rishis or great masters. By the way, Vasishtha, Vishwamitra, they were as great as later what we see the Buddha or Sri Krishna. They were as monumental, amazing people. Of course, we don't have much in records. They all had some spiritual victory, which we can still now tap into, which became universal. Each accomplished something for humanity. So the Rishi hears it, and that becomes a Shruti, and then came the Upanishads. The Upanishadic Rishis came, and who also were in that consciousness, the Paramavyoma of awareness, where that awareness is the space. Chidakash. In that Paramavyoma, they hear it, and that also is Shruti. That also was accepted as Shruti. Now comes the controversial part. So I keep insisting, my humble opinion, for whatever it's worth, is that the Gita is a Shruti. Because Sri Krishna is Sri Krishna. He's an avatar. He's a Rishi himself. Some people call it, okay, it's Narayana Vak. Narayana is saying it. Okay, if Narayana is saying it, then why is it any less than the Shruti? To me, it's a Shruti. But then when I put it in my book, then the editor jumped and beat me up several. I kept putting it as Shruti. No, it is not Shruti. Then I went online, so some people consider it. And Upanishad, so Gita Upanishad, we use that word all the time. It's the 13th Upanishad, so that makes it a Shruti. But then technically, because Sri Krishna has brought together all these darshans together with a very refined mind, somehow we are able to say, confuse, okay, but if there is mind involved, how can it be Shruti? What I submit is consciousness at that level, the mind is so subtle, which Sri Aurobindo talks about later too, that in that refinement of the mind, you reach the Paramavyoma. That is my humble theory. Sri Aurobindo gives you several layers. If you go to Sri Aurobindo, the mind and the higher mind, then you have help me here, illuminated, the luminous mind, the intuitive mind, the overmind, and the supermind. And the supermind goes even higher to what? That is the Satyam Ritam Brihat. That is the Satchidanand. So it is not that they have been cut apart. And at what point would you say that this is a Shruti and this is not? I, in my bhakti, my love for Sri Krishna, say it is a Shruti. Take it or leave it. And so let it be written. If you say it is not, that too is fine. And that is your Shraddha and that is your Bhava. And I have no issues with it. Who's going to settle it? I mean, Sri Aurobindo wrote a whole book on it, essays on the Gita. He experienced Sri Krishna himself. He had realized identity with Sri Krishna, Narayana himself. So at what point can I argue with my own guru that he wrote one of the most beautiful commentaries on it? So I just take it as Shruti. So I don't know if that answered, but at the end of it, you have to have that anubhuti. Is it? Probably doesn't matter. It's my Shraddha.
Yeah, it's a end of the day, it's an intellectual question, right? I mean, how would it matter if you start to engage with Gita and you live it, then whatever comes to you, you get it, right? I mean,
Yeah, this was, I went through this battle myself. It was a very painful battle. So finally I said, that's it. I say so. I'm the writer. Yeah, but bhava, I guess the emotion is it, is Sri Krishna giving us a Shruti? Yes, he is. Let's move on. We take it as a Shruti. That's it. He writes an Upanishad for us.
Then the next one, how do you define darshan?
Oh, very simple. Drish is to see, and darshana is to see. The usual difference in our approach and the Western approach is philosophy, the word philosophy, which came with Pythagoras. Pythagoras was a great mystic himself. Before Socrates, obviously, one of the earliest mystics in Greek, ancient Greece, sorry. And he brought the word philosophy. Philosophy means love of sophos or knowledge. So you love knowledge. You add more stuff. You learn. You get more facts. You may have great facts. You may have great insights. You put it together, right? Intellectually, I learned mathematics. I learned the calculus, and I learned three-dimensional mathematics, and I said, put it together. I'm just giving an example. Darshana is to see the truth. It's not just a physical seeing. It is a seeing at a level that we can only call the word we use is intuition or vijnana. And that seeing is a seeing that is not separative. It is not like I'm seeing the laptop in which your image is there, your name is there, your form is there, and I'm saying, okay, I'm seeing you. No, it's a different seeing. It is a seeing that is its own unity. It is a seeing in oneself, a truth that is not separate from oneself. That darshana. There's a unitary connection. And slowly as you grow in darshana, and in our tradition, that is what a darshanik was. A darshanik was not one who knew all these theories and knew. In fact, the darshanik had to know only one thing, just one. That's it. As our Upanishad says, the question that comes, I think it was Nachiketa or Yagyavalkya, when he comes back after all those years of learning to his father says, do you know that, knowing which all can be known? Just one thing. And he says, I don't know. I've learned all these things. He says, no, but one thing, he didn't know that. So then his teacher goes through the whole class. Tatatvama asi, remember that he shows him the fruit. I think if I remember correctly.
Shvetaketu.
Yeah, correct. Thank you. So Tatatvama asi Shvetaketu. So you don't have to know. That knowing is full of pride. That I know facts. I know detail, information. That's okay. But this is a different knowing. This is a knowing of who you are. We may, if we want to use a word, darshan is to see the Atman, to see yourself, to see who you are, and everything that comes from it. So, but it starts with with seeing. I mean, vipassana, to see. And beautiful thing in our, right from Rigveda, is seeing is a very important thing. Seeing is knowing. It is not thinking was not knowing. Seeing is knowing. Seeing is understanding. Seeing is comprehension. Seeing later is even thought. So that is the genius. So look at the words. Drish, very important, from which comes darshana. Akshi, aankh. Okay. Pashya, pashya. So the other understanding was when you have seen something, you hold it. You're able to hold that. You have control over it. Pashu is what? Pashu, we carry the pashu, the beast that is tied up. Pashu is that you're bound. So words came from in this manner, but seeing was very important. In fact, the whole Veda is based on light and seeing. Rik itself comes from the root. One meaning of Rik is stuti, right? Worship. So the rishis were worshipping. Rig Veda, Rig. But Rik also comes from the root Ark, which means the sun, the light. So it is the song of light. So light is very important. You'll see light everywhere in the Veda. And I'm sorry, I'm getting all distracted, but such a powerful theme in our whole darshana. So Surya is a symbol of Satchidananda, light. Indra is not some god sitting outside, on the clouds. Indra is our own higher awareness, what we call the luminous mind. Sri Aurobindo called it the luminous mind. It is our awareness that we reach as we ascend. And Indra carries what? The Vajra, the Vidyut Shakti, Vidyut Agni. That is what? Vidyut, light, revelation. Right? And then you come to the mind. And then you start seeing, you have darshana, agya. Again, the same symbol comes. Agya chakra. Why do we call it agya? Is there fire there? And you come here, Agni Pavaka in the heart. The fire, and Agni is not just fire. Agni is also fire and light. That fire and light is what resides. Sri Aurobindo calls it the psychic. It is our truth. It is who we are. We are that light and that fire. So, and that Agni, that fire is also in matter. It's hidden inside matter. In this hand, in this matter, it's hidden. In water, in apas, it is hidden. In vanaspati, it is hidden. Now, those who are your scientifically inclined, this is okay. When I burn the vanaspati, there's fire. And when I harness the water, I get fire. It is energy, whatever you want to call it. Agni is also a symbol of love, divine love, and Agni is also a symbol of dhyana. So when you're doing dhyana, what happens? There is light. Automatically, it is not created light. Everything will look like it is glowing. So the light and seeing constantly recur through our symbols, through our whole culture. Light is equivalent to knowledge. Go is not Gai as we think. The Rishi is asking for Go. He's not asking for cows. Gaha is light, from which comes Gauri, from which comes Gautama, from which comes Gavishtira, from which comes Goshti, Gomati, Goswami. Goswami what? Gopuram. Gopuram is not where you tie cows. Gopuram of a temple where the light comes. So Gaha is light, again, the symbol of light. Usha, biggest Devi first Devi in the Veda, who is that? Usha. Because from Usha is our awakening. Usha is not just a morning, okay, you start the yajna and you invoke Usha and you create Usha. That makes no sense. But when you do the yajna in which you offer yourself, yajna means to offer, or yajna, if you want to be Sanskrit, you want to yajna. So you're offering yourself and then you invoke with the mantra and Usha appears. It's totally the opposite. It is not that Usha appears and you say, okay, we'll have a sacrifice, we'll burn the fire. Through the Agni, through the Yajna, you are bringing Usha. And Usha, who's chasing Usha in our Rigved, is Surya. Surya is chasing. The higher knowledge is chasing the awakening. So these symbols will constantly come through. Darshana, I know I've carried on, but there's so much interconnected. These symbols constantly come through. But if we can see this, in a moment we'll know this is what our culture is. Our name of our nation, Bharata, Bha is light. Bhanu, Bhaskara. Why? This Bharata. So Bha, that which is Rata in light is Bharata. Civilization, the culture that was totally involved, discovering, exploring light is Bharata. That is the meaning of our country, our civilization. So darshana will keep coming, and I don't have a definition for it, but you will see it constantly coming. In every layer of darshana, you will realize that this is such an important aspect of our Sanskriti. I hope that answered it somewhat.
The next one is how does one prepare to be like Arjuna to receive and not debate the technicalities? Would help us right through the session. We are very fortunate to be hearing this from you. Very obliged. Thank you. So, how does one prepare to receive like Arjuna and not debate technicalities?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's tough, but I'll just a couple of things that I feel where Arjuna is superior to us. One is the ability to concentrate. Tremendous ability, which I think all of us can develop. Obviously, it did not happen right away. I'm sure it took him many lifetimes, because it is not one time that they came together. Nara and Narayan, I'm sure they were together for a lifetime. But we can start now, right now. So ability to have dharana, ability to hold. What is dharana? The ability to hold in our consciousness. So the more we can concentrate and become focused, that dhyana is so important, as Swami Vivekananda constantly used to say. Our children need to learn how to concentrate, period. Forget all that. Forget all these lessons. He didn't care for all that. If we learn that, all knowledge is available to us. And those of you can today, especially, you can go online, all knowledge is available. What we lack is the ability to do dharana, to be able to hold. Forget dhyana, to be able to hold. Our brain is going all over the place. But if we can hold it like Arjuna, Arjuna is straight. The name means straight and pure. Can we be pure like him? But the most beautiful part, which happens in the Gita, he's totally confused. He's not a brilliant guy. He's not an intellectual like us. We can intellectualize anything. He is a straightforward guy. Just give me a dharma. Forget all this. He is an emotional basket case, if I may use a modern phrase. Vitally, he's just messed up. Oh my God, he cannot. He's totally Vitaraga. He's just Arjuna Vishada Yoga. First chapter is just Vishada. He cannot handle it. Yet, despite all that, he totally surrenders to Sri Krishna. And that is the beauty of it. Through all that confusion, one thing holds true. You give me the answer, now follow your answer. If we can do that somewhere in some part of our being, okay, just give it to me, that's all I'll live by. Just that's it, forget everything, all the confusion. Just hold one thread. He holds it. That thread goes through all the way. That is my humble understanding. So if we have total surrender to the Guru or Sri Krishna or Sri Aurobindo or whoever you're totally connected to, a deep connection with, an identity. How do I say? You have to feel like you have a love affair. That identity, that oneness with the teacher or with the divine. You have that, then it's no longer a painful thing. It's painful because there's separation. But if you realize somehow or the other your identity with Sri Krishna or Sri Aurobindo, and sometimes it's tough. The passion. Passion is the key. If there is passion, if there's intensity, then it'll break through all the barriers, through your own barriers, which you have created or have or chosen. And somewhere that identity, the very fact that you're listening to Sri Krishna coming through this name and form is itself a Sri Krishna at the end says, I'm the only one who talks and I'm the only one who listens. The moment you realize that Sri Krishna listening through you, this name and form, so-called Pariksith or Samir, it's actually Sri Krishna talking to Sri Krishna. Right? So if it can flash there for a moment, then poof, in that one moment of lightning, after that, the room is no longer the same. You know where everything is. Make it dark. I don't care. I can keep it dark for 100 years. It doesn't matter. Because that one flash of lightning, you say, okay, this is there, this is there, this is there. Okay, now you know. Okay, darkness comes. No problem. So if we can somehow find our intimacy, that's the word I was looking for, our intimacy with the divine, somehow we can catch it, then your goose is cooked, so to speak. It happens. It will happen. Deep love actually is an intimacy. If you feel deep love, we don't see it because we are looking from our perspective. The very fact that you're drawn to it, drawn to the divine, means divine is drawn to you. There's no separation. It's not like a one-way movement and then like God will come later and okay. No, it's the moment you start one step, God has already moved to you. In fact, God has taken that step through you. The moment you realize that it's not me doing it, it's Sri Krishna himself moving in this, then suddenly something opens up. If we can remember that.
Thank you. The next question is, I want to read the Gita in parallel as I attend these sessions. Which version would you recommend? Considering that I'm just starting to explore, I also apologize if this question is irrelevant.
No, it's not irrelevant. There's no question that is irrelevant. Every irrelevant question has a relevance. So this is a book I got. Strange as it may sound. What is this book? The Gita for the Youth. I don't know if you can see this. It is just the writings of Sri Aurobindo, 100 pages. They took his writings, his essays on the Gita, and Swamiji, you can get it from the ashram, from Shabda. And
I'll send the link to the group.
Yeah, so that, then of course, Sri Aurobindo's essays on the Gita, which they have done this thing, beautiful thing in the ashram. Sri Aurobindo, when he wrote the Tika, he did not give the Uddharan, the reference to which slok he's talking about. But the Bhagavad Gita with text, translation, and commentary in the words of Sri Aurobindo is another. I just love his beautiful writing because I'm a student of literature. But I love literature. But I think with this introduction, it will be easier for you to read Sri Aurobindo. People say Sri Aurobindo is very difficult. I don't agree with that. I think he's the most beautiful, most lucid writer that I've read. After a while, I can't read anybody else because it's so incomplete, everything else. That's just my bias. Obviously, I'm reading my guru, so everything is coming and it's just pure nectar. But after our discussions, you won't find it too difficult. Read one paragraph. The mother said, just read one paragraph and just be quiet. And that's all. I think the essays on the Gita is the best introduction. Partha book on the Gita, on Sanatana Dharma, also has, I think, a very important aspect which I think very important section is on the Gita, which is, I think, worthwhile for everyone.
Also, what is darshan? You can really he's written so much about it also.
Who has?
In the book, Partha Dada's book.
Yeah, Dada has written a lot.
Darshan.
Yes.
So I'll post these links on our WhatsApp group.
Yes, that's very good. I think if you can connect with Sri Aurobindo's consciousness directly when you read him, then that's the best part. Then you just flow into it. It's like flowing in the Ganges, and that itself will take you through. It's the joy of language. Those who love English, I'm sure everyone here loves English. What a beautiful style. I just love it.
Amit, there is another question in the
Yeah.
chat.
He says, you just spoke about dhyana or hold, and also said, sorry, you spoke about
Dhara.
dhyana or hold and said that dhyan is different. Can you elaborate more on this? Dharana versus dhyan.
Okay. So if you go by Patanjali, Patanjali's classification, dharana is separate from dhyana. But what is dharana? Dhr is to hold. So this is if you can hold your dhyana, hold your consciousness. So we think consciousness is a passive thing. Consciousness is not passive. Consciousness has power in it. Consciousness is not just chit, but also chitta shakti. Or if you want to take another language, consciousness is not just Shiva. Consciousness is also Shakti. Consciousness has force. Consciousness is able to do things. It is very flexible. It is also like the Akasha, space in which you hold. In fact, you will notice when you concentrate on something, what is happening? That thing is being held. Where is it being held? Right. Dharana on this. They're looking at it. What does that mean? What does it mean when you concentrate on it? Is it somewhere, some person here sitting and looking there, some homunculus in my brain, like Men in Black sitting and looking at something outside through this camera? Or is consciousness already a wide thing in which this is held? Where is your consciousness? Is your consciousness in your brain? Find it. Or is it already everywhere? Is it in a fixed place? So we have a concept of what consciousness is. But the moment you drop that concept, then where is consciousness? Is there a place where consciousness is? Is consciousness inside us? This Pariksith, does so-called Nama Rupa of Pariksith, does he hold consciousness inside, or this Pariksith is held in consciousness? If you can see that for a moment, consciousness is a concept, but if you move to the actual anubhuti, then you cannot place it anywhere. There's no place. The moment you realize that, and when you concentrate on something, all that is happening is in that so-called space of consciousness, something is held. And that is why we use the word dharana. Dharana. Consciousness is holding that. Krishnamurti calls it the space of consciousness. And he gives elaborate meditation exercises. We'll just say, look at a flower, hold it in the space of consciousness. A thought comes, hold it in the space of consciousness. What is the space? When a thought comes, is it in my head? Am I like this filter through the thought which is coming, or is thought is moving through an awareness? So when that awareness is holding, because most of the time it's all things are moving, so much static, you're not sure. The moment there's stillness, then in that so-called space of consciousness, in that so-called space, that which you're concentrating on is held. So that's why we call it Chid Akasha. Chit Akasha. Akasha is space. No separation. There is no separation. It's our understanding that there is some consciousness inside. There's no consciousness inside. In fact, this whole Nama Rupa is moving in consciousness. Thinks that he has consciousness, he or she. So if we can get this insight, that consciousness is nowhere and everywhere, then what happens to who you are? You are no longer a person sitting there having consciousness. It's consciousness having a person. Does that make sense? A person is not having consciousness, a consciousness is having person. Then dharana makes sense. You're holding with most delicate attention. That's what Krishnamurti used to say. With the most attention, whenever a thought comes, pay complete attention to it. Hold it in the attention. That's what he used to say. Or the Buddha, vipassana, you watch, each sensation is being watched. Watched where? By whom? In that consciousness. Now, when is it dhyan? When does that dharana become dhyan? Different definitions of dhyana, but maybe we can take one today, because dhyana itself is such a deep, deep subject. I don't want to just give a verbal definition, but think for a moment. Okay, Patanjali gives a beautiful definition of dhyana. Again, comes from dhi. Dhi is also thought in our tradition, but dhi is also an inner seeing. And dhi is also a higher level of thought. Dhiyo yona prachodayat, Gayatri mantra. Sam adhi dhi. So dhyan is when consciousness drops its different directions. All the time our brain is going, our consciousness is going this way, that way. I have to go and do this, I have to eat this, I look at what a beautiful picture, I want to have some nice, lunch, a beer, whatever. So these are vrittis. The brain is going here and there, here. The moment the direction is gone, Krishnamurti gives a beautiful definition of meditation. You can call dhyana like equivalent to meditation, not exactly, but when the consciousness has no direction. When it is complete in itself. It doesn't have to go, you don't need anything. What do you need? What does that consciousness need? Normally we think, okay, we got to go do this. God, otherwise, oh my God, life is going to come to an end. Everything will collapse. But the moment consciousness drops all those vrittis, and it's complete, dhyana happens. That is a limited, very basic definition. Dhyana can go in deeper and deeper layers and layers of dhyana. But I hope that, so dharana is a beginning preparation for dhyana. At least that's how Patanjali said, and it makes sense.
So can we, we are at already at 9 o'clock. Can we take the one last question? If Arjuna was in the middle of battle and still realized Atma that Krishna taught, what can we do to realize the same Atma? Are we not doing something that Arjuna did prior to the battle that prepared him for the realization?
Yeah, that's what the whole yoga and process of growth is. In fact, you're already doing it. I think the fact that you're coming to Sri Krishna direct and reading him and reading Sri Aurobindo is itself a preparation. And then you have to follow your svabhava. You have to follow what your natural way of being is, and that flow, your passion, find your, as the phrase is, find your bliss. Where is your bliss? What is your natural, spontaneous energy? If you can be in that, that will make it so much easier for you. So if you can find yoga in that, then that makes it easy. For me, it was easy. I love literatures. I read and I read and I read, and I love philosophy. So I analyzed and discussed, and I'm blessed with a great guru, and I'm blessed with a great mentor whom I harass a lot and torture a lot, but in a good way. So it is not a painful thing. It has to be a joyous thing. The moment it becomes joyous, it becomes like a dance, and then it becomes, I think, much easier. Hasiba, kheliba, kariba, dhyanam, right? So Guru Gorakhnath used to say that. If we can make it a laughter and fun thing, it'll accelerate so much. What can you do? I think you're already doing it. Just come in touch with Sri Krishna, surrender to him, let him work through you. Or Sri Aurobindo. I mean, that was my way. It just made it very easy. Although in retrospect, it was not that easy, but still, it's blessed and it's easy and it was fun. And that's the best part. I'm writing about things that I love. What better blessing can there be? And so that is my yoga. Writing, reading, Sri Aurobindo. So you'll have to find what works for you. If you're a singer, if you're a dancer, I don't know, IT, techie, finance guy like Swamiji, then you have to discover that as your yoga. If you can do that, then I think you're already on the path of Arjuna. Arjuna is doing what he loves the most, what he's made for. What was his subhava, is to fight. That's who he is. He's the Kshatriya. And that is why he cannot leave his subhava. You cannot leave your subhava. Where are you going to go? It's ridiculous. It's like me telling Swamiji to stop thinking finance. It doesn't make sense. If that is who you are, then develop it and grow it and make it the best finance investing firm in the world. So that should be what comes naturally to you. It's like my son, he loves bowling. So should he be sitting here discussing philosophy with me, or should he be going and bowling? He should be bowling. If he can find that bliss, then that itself is the yoga. So I think if you just have to be a little sensitive. You already most of the time you know who you are, what you want to do. And most of the time the society tells us to do this, do that, which is ridiculous. But that's how we are. So we have to rediscover ourselves. And this is who I am. I think the easiest, best way to do is to find that flow. If we can, then it becomes easy. When Sri Aurobindo I think, called it the sunlit path. So if it's cheerful, if it's happy, then it's just so much faster. Even if it's not, who cares?
Okay. Rajesh, does it give you some more questions? So I think we
thoughts
can.
to.
Yes. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, some more thoughts to take it in, and then get on the path. At least try to be on the path to find that.
So I think we can pause for today, and next week then we will start with the shloka. So Dr. Pariksith has suggested that we start with 2.11, which is where the real meat starts. So we'll go with that. Try to cover one or two shlokas, depending on how much time it takes. Naturally, we'll maintain that pace. But
and hopefully we'll make it fun, and those who are not literarians will turn them into literarians.
yes.
And those who are literarians will turn them into non-literarians. We'll have fun with it. And that's the secret. Hopefully we'll enjoy it. So I have a couple of questions. So this is recorded. Can this be later transcribed, Swamiji? So we can, hopefully create like a handbook of things.
Yes.
All the, random associations, maybe we can create something. I think understanding and hopefully all of us, as we grow into the Gita, we can share with the world, not by just verbally, but by who we are. And I think the world needs it so desperately. Of course, with our passion, if we just internalize it, if we can live it, then that's what the world needs today. And, right now, that would be our contribution in this Dharma Yuddha. Dharma Yuddha is going on. It's not over. This is a more intense Dharma Yuddha, if I may say. And because that when we think of Gita, it was only a physical dharma. We are in a dharma that is at multiple layers, levels happening right in front of our eyes. That's what I think happened. And the genius of Ved Vyasa put it in a very beautiful literary way. And then we take it too literally. But that it probably like this. And
Yep.
I think there is a dharma going on, and each of us is a fighter, and each of us can contribute and be the Arjuna that we are. And maybe, an Ansha of Sri Krishna that we are. So very good. Thank you. I appreciate you all for listening, and feel free to critique and question, and that's how we'll all learn.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pariksith. It was really nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pariksith.
Dhanyavad.
Doctor.
Thank you.